Hey, everybody, welcome back to our next episode of our Velocity Sellers Podcast. I am your host, Velocity Pete, and today I am joined by Fabricio Miranda, who is the CEO and co-founder of Flieber, a multi-channel inventory planner. Fabricio, thank you so much for joining me today and talking to me about Flieber and really about the importance of managing your inventory across multiple channels. Really excited to get into that topic today and learn more myself about how to better manage that.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself and kind of give our audience an idea about who you are and really a little bit more about how Flieber got started. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you, and you can give us a little intro.
Yeah, that's awesome. As I said, Fabricio Miranda. I'm from Brazil originally. I'm from Rio de Janeiro. Been an entrepreneur since 26 years old. Prior to that, we were just talking before the episode, I was a musician for 12 years. So it's a big part of my life and the whole
check them out on YouTube, right? Maybe I'll throw the link to your YouTube video in the description of this one.
You can,
so
you can
check it out.
Although I usually say that's a third date kind of information, but that's not. I'm fine with sharing that. So I became an entrepreneur at 26 years old. I did a bunch of things in Brazil. The last thing I did was joining a water treatment company that we sold to the largest construction group in 2010. I decided to move to the U.S. to raise my kids here in the U.S. Needed a work visa, basically, and what I know how to do is to open companies. So I decided to open a hedge fund in Manhattan called Victory Capital. Victory with an I in the end instead of the Y. Victory Capital, and I was running this hedge fund for in the beginning. It's still running up to today, but 2.5 years into that, I met a guy opening an Amazon store, and that just completely changed my life. I didn't even know there was a business. But in the very beginning of my conversation with him, he asked me how much percent of retail I thought was online. And I thought it was already 45, 50%, but it was still 8%. That's in 2015. And I was very intrigued about that, decided to join him. And long story short, the fourth company in that segment, Flieber, all of the other companies are still running successfully. One of them is called, we have HeadClicks, which is the brand. We have SellersFi, which is a funding business, which I also co-founded, Quartile, which is an advertising platform, which I also co-founded, and then Flieber, which is a company that I now full-time manage on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get into Flieber. I know we talked before this, obviously we had a preliminary call about just really more about Flieber and like I said, the importance of managing your inventory across multiple channels, aside from the obvious of you don't want to run out of stock anywhere. But really going into a lot about now as we get, at the time of this recording, it's September 25th. So we're getting into quarter four here. We're approaching Prime Big Deal days. It's always a tongue twister. And also, of course, the big one of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So I'm really excited to talk more about the importance of obviously managing at this kind of crazy turmoil time, but also just throughout the whole year as well. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a great discussion.
Yeah. It's most brands don't understand that the profit is made at the time that you purchase the product, not at the time that you sell the product. So as I usually say, if you have the right product at the right place in the right time in the right quantity, you're very likely to make money. If any of these rights are wrong, so if it's the wrong product or the wrong quantity or the wrong time or the wrong place, it's going to be tougher to make money because now you have to kind of correct the course with marketing price. So you have to reduce price to get rid of excess inventory, or you have to increase price to avoid stockouts, or you end up running out of stock, and all of that impacts on your sales and margins. So inventory is not just a control thing. Inventory is a margin generator. And the big companies, if you talk to Walmart, Costco, and Home Depot, they succeeded because they were very good at streamlining operations. It was not because they were clever in marketing. So that's what people have to understand. And I think as e-commerce matures, more and more brands will understand that.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like I said, I'm eager to learn today more about sort of Flieber and really just the overall strategy behind doing inventory marketing and how you guys manage that for your partners. So I want to get into it. I know we talked about having the 3-pillar system. I would love to get into each one of those and have you go through and tell me just again what makes it so important and how to really provide value to the inventory marketing space?
Yeah. So the three pillars that we have in retail is capital, sales, and advertising, and inventory, right? So basically, this is the business. If you don't have capital, you don't have products. If you don't have products, you can sell. And if you have the wrong products, you'll sell at a loss instead of a profit. So it's really important to kind of connect the three. And today, what happens with retail overall is not only e-commerce, but offline retail is the same thing. You have different areas of the company managing, these different parts of retail. And what happens is that they're completely disconnected. So you have advertising teams doing campaigns blind to the fact that those campaigns are going to just generate a stock out 2 weeks or 2 months from today because they don't have the visibility. You have inventory teams playing the catch-up game, basically reacting to what's happening with sales, and completely disconnected from reality. So I've seen cases, and this is not something like an exception. This is the norm, where inventory teams are paying extra to bring things by plane because they were planning that 3 months ago to receive on a certain date. But from 3 months when they placed the purchase order to today when they're receiving the items, a lot of things changed in the sales. So now the product is going to be overstocked. So you're paying to bring products by plane instead of ocean just to be overstocked. And the other way around too. You think that everything is under control, but suddenly you find out that you are out of stock. And it's crazy because most of our customers actually find out that they are out of stock when they see the sales reports. It's like a surprise because they don't have the visibility. And that's how retail operates. And it's not only small companies, big companies are the same. We have investors coming from AB InBev, PepsiCo, Kraft Heinz, and all of these companies have kind of the same, of course in different levels, but kind of the same challenges. How to incorporate sales, capital, and inventory into kind of the same decision. And this is what we're trying to bring with Flieber, is a full visibility of what's going to happen with your inventory, and alerts saying, hey, here is stocked out and there's no way for you to bring products on time. So you have to change your sales space, you increase your price, you reduce your advertising so that you hold on to the sales and you're able to bridge this period. And you'll do that with more margin because higher price, lower advertising means more margin. So you're going to sell the same number of units, but with a better margin. So this is the kind of thing that's why I talk about the three pillars all the time. It's the kind of thing that I think most brands will have to understand with time, and they will with the maturity of the market.
No, I get it. Like I said, I like the concept of this, of the three pillars, and thinking that, if one goes down, the other two are going to have a lot more weight on them, and they might not be able to hold up theoretically
Exactly. Yeah.
whatever they're holding up, in the analogy. But yeah, no, I definitely feel same thing as being an Amazon person and being, on Amazon. What I tell all my people that come in here that I do an audit for, or that I look at their account, or even the people that I used to run accounts for, the worst thing that can happen on Amazon, truly, in my belief, is you run out of stock.
Yeah.
Because Amazon's going to ding you. Now you're going to get low inventory fees charged to you.
Yep.
There's a whole mess of things. So it's not even just, it really is. It works across all selling, e-commerce, regular retail, in-store retail platforms, where if you're out of stock, just simply put, if you don't have product, you can't make money.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's really just the bottom line is,
and you give a chance to your competitor also, right? So, and there's
your
also
ranking.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ranking problem on Amazon, but outside of Amazon, it's the same thing. If someone wants to purchase something and you don't have that something, they will go to someone else's website. It just gave someone else the chance to conquer that customer, right? To get that customer from you. And one
you just
thing
get in the business. Yeah,
exactly. And one thing that people don't realize is that all the brands in history in retail that they die rich in inventory, poor in cash. So the overstock is also a huge problem because you are tying up inventory. That's the capital pillar. You're tying up inventory in stock that is not churning. And now you need more capital than you would need if you didn't have that overstock. So that's why this balance between overstock, stockouts is extremely important.
Yeah. No, it definitely is about finding that. What I say is you got to find that Goldilocks number.
Yeah, exactly.
Just right. You can't have, same thing to bring it back to Amazon. Same thing. You can't have too much inventory at Amazon because they'll ding you. Even if you're moving through it pretty quickly, if Amazon deems you not having enough, they're gonna flag you and they're gonna give you a fee. They're going to charge you for it.
Yep.
So it's super important to make sure that you're, again, in that Goldilocks spot, like you said.
Yep. Yep.
So sort of on that topic, how do you at Flieber, how do you find that Goldilocks spot? Like, what's your process for really managing someone's inventory?
Yeah. So we're a platform. So the brand is the one managing their own inventory. What we're doing is we're connecting all the points of data, and we're multi-channel. So you can have, we're not only Amazon. So you can have Amazon accounts, Shopify accounts, you can have wholesale. You can have Walmart, eBay, Etsy, whatever you have in terms of sales accounts. You connect them all. You connect your sources of inventory information. So we need to know how much stock you have today. So it comes from ERPs, inventory management systems, 3PL systems, and all of that comes into Flieber. You also manage either manage your POs in Flieber or connect your source of POs so that we know what's arriving at any given time. And with that, we build a string of future inventory projections. So we have all the sales forecast part that takes into consideration a bunch of different things. And then we have the inventory forecast, which ties up the inventory quantities and the future arrivals. And you create a string of data. And that gives you a level of visibility that you have never had before.
Wow.
With charts showing you how the inventory is going to be consumed across channels in each one of your inventory locations. And with all the triggers, because you have safety stock triggers, you have maximum days of stock triggers, you have lead times. So all of those triggers create alerts inside of the system saying, hey, this product needs to be replenished, and this is the ideal quantity. And we don't use sales velocity. That concept just drives me crazy. The only reason why sales velocity exists is because people use Excel, and Excel has one column that you have to fill out. We don't do that. We use a string of data. Everything is strings of data. So if you have seasonality, cyclicality, marketing campaigns on a certain date, that will be taken into consideration on that date. And you don't have to do averages or try to add 20% more because it's peak season. There's no those intangible things that people try to do to manage inventory. So that creates huge results. In 6 months, we have usually on average 36% less stockouts, with 8% less overstocks. So it's lower stockouts and lower overstocks. In a year, the 8% becomes 17, the 36% becomes over 45%. So 45% less stockouts and 18% less overstocks. So you're operating you're selling a lot more because you have a lot less stockouts. We have a case of a customer, for example, that we use and promote, where there was a 27% increase in sales in 1 year after using Flieber, just by being in stock. It's not that their products grew in sales. It's the same sales, but now they were in stock on the days that last year they were out of stock. So can you imagine that, selling 27% more? If you're selling $10 million like this customer, that means $2.7 million more in sales just by being in stock. So that's the kind of value added that we bring to customers.
Yeah, it really, really shows, the opportunity cost that, one, you're missing out on by not having inventory at any of these stores or any of these channels. And two, like you said, there's just so much potential in just staying in stock. Just not, and forecasting correctly. Obviously, that's like a loose term because forecasts are, I don't want to say guesses, but they're more like estimates. Obviously, no one can know the future. But you can get pretty close, it sounds like. You can get $3 million close.
Yeah, exactly. What I think that the main difference, people think that it's rocket science. There is a little bit of rocket science because we have, machine learning, AI, all those modern terms. But, most of the result comes from two things. First, correcting the past sales data. So if you had a stock out in the past and you don't use that in your projections, the algorithms are going to predict a new stock out. So we have a huge pre-processing step with 6 different steps where we normalize sales for price. We normalize, like if you had a listing suspension on Amazon, we substitute that for what would have been the sale. If you had a stock out, we substitute that for what would have been the sale. So we treat your past data, and that brings a 40% increase in accuracy. And the second thing is visibility. It's just the first time you're seeing on a screen the future forecast in a chart marked with, things that you need to pay attention to. And you'll see the inventory forecast marked with all the alerts that you have to have. It's visibility. It's just being able to see what's happening in the future.
Yeah, no, and I know. I remember from my I'm dating myself, but I remember from my statistics and business forecasting classes about 2 years ago in college. I remember that the past is just as important as the future, if not more important. It's going to show you what has happened historically. We use that in our practice. We'll take a look, especially for, again, with the Fall Prime Day coming up and Black Friday.
Yeah.
We'll look back at last year and say what happened last year. What were the
Yep.
problems that we faced? And we're doing this, months out now, but what was a problem? What problems did we face? How can we make them? How can we fix them this year? How can we get them back to being problems that we don't face this time around?
Yeah.
So it definitely something to consider, and definitely something that you can't just be throwing out data. It stinks that Amazon doesn't give you a whole lot of look back time
Yeah.
for more historically accurate stuff. That's why I got to download all your reports and keep them somewhere.
Yeah, that's
But
why we
I'm
you
sure
know
that's what you guys.
we do that, right? So
Yeah,
we keep
exactly.
all your history
Yep.
in the account. So we have customers that have been with us for we were founded 5.5 years ago. We have customers who joined 5 years ago in July of 2019, and these customers have a huge advantage over any other company because they have these 5 years of data, including every single day inventory positions that we can look back, we can understand what happened to inventory at any given time, and what were the problems. So all of that data is fed into machine learning algorithms, and they learn more with time. As time goes by, more use cases happen. Machine learning algorithms learn better and make better decisions. So the decisions for these customers are a lot more accurate because of the amount of data that we have and that we can use.
Yeah, just based off of, like you said, how much data is in there. I know that's the case for all these AI tools out there.
Yeah.
Kind of a little scared about some of the AI tools. I was at a conference, ASGTG, back in January now, and I remember one of the talks from one of the guys was talking about how he took his business from like 600 employees down to 180 using AI tools. And I was like, oh my God, are they going to replace me? Are they going to have just like a robot, like an AI robot up here talking to the guests and asking all these questions?
No, I don't think
He's like, I
so.
hope not.
I
I
think
hope
you're
not.
gonna. You're just gonna do smarter stuff. The things that you
Yes.
spend a lot of time doing and that add no value, they are just processual, and you're not gonna have to do them anymore. So
Yeah.
I think AI will give us superpowers. I think that's the great thing about
That's the
AI.
goal. And I said this a couple times, but every time we bring up AI, I have to bring up the Elon Musk, like the $10,000 in-home, like humanoid robot AI that he's building to
Yeah,
have people not have to do their laundry or not have to do their like. The one video he put out was the robot like cracked an egg into a pan
yeah, I saw
and
that.
was dexterous enough with the fingers to pick out eggshells
Yeah,
from the pan
I saw
that he missed.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, like that's. I don't know. I like cooking and I like doing the laundry. I don't mind it. I know that I'm probably in the minority there, but so I
Yeah,
probably will
but
not be dropping 10
yeah,
grand on that.
exactly. If you like it, no problem. And the 10
I'll
grand
do
will
it. Yeah.
become 1,000 grand in the future. So with
Yeah. Oh
volume,
yeah. They're going to be
yeah,
upgrading that. I have no doubt for a
yeah.
long time to
I
come.
I personally
Um,
love that because I would love that the tedious tasks that I have to do are taken over by something or someone, right? So I think it's a great way to create productivity, and I think a lot of the things that the jobs of the future don't even exist today because this will open up a whole new world of efficiency of things that can be done that today can't. So I'm very excited with the future. I think the next 30 years are going to be the best 30 years in history, in my view.
I hope so because we'll be around for it. So I hope that
Hopefully,
is
right?
something that yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah. I hope that is something that we get to enjoy. And I I have come to the conclusion, and I know we're going off topic here, but I've come to the conclusion that um, AI is a teensy tiny bit scary. But if it can do the things that nobody else wants to do, like there's so many jobs out there that people just don't want to do. And so if Elon wants to make these robots that he can sell them to like construction companies that are have like the dangerous jobs or anything else that just jobs that people don't want to do, then yeah, then that's fine. Sure, whatever. Just I wouldn't want it to take jobs away from people that, like we said, like I wouldn't want it to come into my house and do the cooking for me because I like to do that. And I wouldn't want that to happen on a grander scale at someone's job or something like that. And that's been going on forever since the Industrial Revolution. So
Exactly. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I'm behind the times a little bit here. I always said I was born too early, or I guess too late. But in any case, yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. Speaking of kind of on topic a little bit back on inventory, Amazon does have like 70, I want to say it was like 75 or 750,000 robots now
Yeah.
in their FBA
In the
warehouses to
warehouses. Yeah.
manage your inventory and to sort of do that job. And I know my buddies in high school worked at an Amazon warehouse, and I'm sure that they don't mind having a robot do that job. No offense to Amazon,
Yeah.
but I know they got some flack from them from those particular jobs. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's crazy that inventory is really going to move in this direction as well. And like you said,
Yep.
feeding this data into a machine to have it say, hey, we had a stock out this time last year, so we're going to add an extra 20% of units this year to avoid a stock out again. Or
Yep.
based on how the rest of the year is going, we think your quarter four is going to go like this, and all that kind of good stuff. So you're right. It's very interesting to see how maybe that can really help make you some more money and do something that sure, a human could do that, but for the accuracy of a robot, it's or an AI, it's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat accuracy and efficiency. I think across the board, if you talk to all of our customers, besides the accuracy part, which is great, I think what they praise more about Flieber is the fact that we transform days of tedious work into literally minutes to make the same decisions. They don't have to download reports. They don't have to copy and paste things. They don't have to look through hundreds of SKUs to understand, what each one is happening. Go into Seller Central. If they have multiple selling accounts, they sell on Europe, US, and I don't know, Japan. They would have to go to 3 selling accounts on Amazon, and on Flieber, it's in the same place. They make the decisions with the same data. So all of that saves a lot of time and removes a lot of the tedious part. And if they want to still do their own forecast, they can. They can overwrite. They can just turn off the AI models and overwrite with whatever they want. We have customers that use moving average just because they prefer. And that's fine. They can use moving averages as they do in Excel. But now all is not only a lot more visible, but at the click of a button. Instead of having to go to accounts, download reports, paste into Excel, and do all the analysis themselves. So I think that's a huge win of this new technology world. And with AI, I think a lot of the decision-making process will also be improved because AI is able to process a lot more points of data than a human can do. So with time, with more data coming in from supply chain, trucks and vessels, and even production, like the factory floor, all of those decisions are going to be a lot more automated, a lot more accurate, just because of the quantity of data that is being processed. And this is what I look forward a lot. I think the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a lot of improvement in AI being used for decision making, which today it's not great, but in the future it will be a lot better than humans to make decisions.
Yeah, well, you kind of answered my my next question. There was going to be, like what looking forward. What's on the horizons for Flieber and really just for inventory management in general. So that was you read my mind there. You forecasted my question there, we'll say. But yeah, no, I'd love to hear also more about kind of how you guys are prepping for, or how do the AI is trained and how it responds to like these big sales holidays.
Yeah.
So obviously we have Prime Day back in July, and this is, I'm talking strictly for Amazon, but really any channel I'm sure would apply for this. So like big holidays like Prime Day, and for the fall, Prime Day, and then Black Friday, Cyber Monday, then the Christmas season. How does your AI respond and sort of react to that? How do you guys sort of help your partners really plan for that?
Yeah. So those are kind of easy because they happen every year. So since they happen every year, there's a trend. But I will use COVID as an example because COVID was unexpected, impossible to predict. And I'll tell you a little bit of what happened in Flieber for customers who were using Flieber. And I'll use an example of a coffee company called Bon Dia that we use as one of the cases here. During COVID, what happened to Bon Dia was that they sold coffee online. So now, a lot of people buy coffee online, but most people like to buy coffee at the grocery store. And when COVID arrived, grocery stores were closed. So suddenly every single person started buying coffee online. And at the time, this company made $1.5 million in sales, annual sales. And suddenly, the demand started picking up. Our algorithms in the beginning, they're like, oh, something wrong happened, and it's try to correct the course because it deems that first day of spike as an outlier. But then second day comes also with the spike. So it starts saying, is that a trend or is that an outlier? Third day comes again with a spike, and then it starts identifying that that is actually a trend and not an outlier. So instead of trying to eliminate that as an outlier, it starts understanding that that's the new trend. So starts picking up the forecast because of that persistence of the trend day after day. And then start saying to Bon Dia, hey, you had 20 days of stock, but with this new trend, that stock is only going to last for 10 days. You have to ship inventory as soon as possible to Amazon. And then they would place an order with the supplier who was still working and still had products. And they would send more to Amazon, but sales would pick up even more and more and more. And then we would be, hey, what you sent to Amazon yesterday that was supposed to last for 30 days is going to last actually for 5. Send right away another batch. And that happened every single day up to the moment that it was impossible to send units to respond to the demand that they were having. So the system starts changing the approach, starts saying, hey, it's impossible. You're going to run out of stock. So aside from sending units so that you are in stock, as soon as possible, you also have to start changing your sales space. You also have to start raising prices or reducing advertising spend. And in the beginning, they were reducing advertising and then reduced to zero, but sales were still going up. Then they started increasing prices. Long story short, in the first 6 months of COVID, they became the only company on Amazon with coffee available, just because they had that visibility and quick reaction due to the data that Flieber was providing. So wow, they went from $1.5 million to $6.5 million in sales in 1 year because of that approach. So that shows a lot about how a system like ours reacts and helps you make decisions. First, identify outliers quicker, which is the holy grail. The quicker you're able to identify something that went outside of what you had planned, the better you're going to be than your competition. So because you can take action, sooner.
Because and you can, so you can plan better.
And then giving you the visibility of what needs to be done to correct the course. So those are the two things. I think this case is amazing because it shows a lot about the value of having this type of tool in any brand.
Yeah, I see the value just from the story. So I can only imagine how the brand saw it. And I love the tips. The same thing, we say the same thing to people on Amazon, like, hey, listen, if you have, and I'm sure you guys have the same kind of advice for people with long lead times, I'm sure are your, not your worst customer, but are a little bit harder to maybe plan for, that they have, it takes them 3 months to get new products in or 2 months to get new products in. I can imagine that it's, or even maybe even longer. Sometimes it's hard for us to take a look at that and say, okay, listen, it's harder to find that Goldilocks spot.
Yeah.
But we got to say, listen, you got to either raise that price or we got to use advertising to slow it down, because if you don't, you're going to run out of stock. And that's, again, as you mentioned, the worst possible thing that could happen to you on Amazon.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's fine. In the end of the day, it's about the 3 pillars. You are always having to use the other pillars to correct whatever went wrong. And since inventory is the only physical part of e-commerce, sales and capital. I mean, capital is a little bit physical, but you can have access to capital easily. Yeah, but sales are digital. So inventory is going to be the problem most of the times because it's physical. So it has real delays, trucks and vessels and factories. And so having that visibility and being able to adjust sales digitally with the click of a button of a mouse is great, because it gives you, you sell the same quantity, but you sell at a better margin. So you make more money at the end of the day.
It's invaluable. Yeah, no, it definitely is very, it's something that I think I've said this a lot recently, that I think a lot of things like this are overlooked. People, obviously, people know that they need product to sell to make money. But I think the planning and the strategy that goes into it is not so much considered by some people. I don't know if since you agree. It feels like it's maybe some of the, even thinking back now that I am aware of it, it feels like some of the people that I audit, some of the companies that I talk to, are just looking at, oh yeah, we sent some FBA orders in and we're just keeping on top of it and we're looking at it, blah blah blah. And they're not really looking ahead too much, even in terms of, not even just in terms of the holidays and Black Friday and all that stuff, but just in terms of throughout the year, or could you be, like I said, could you be selling more? Could you maybe have that
Yeah.
price increase? And then could you be, just staying in stock better? Could Amazon be promoting your products more if you had a more solid level of inventory?
Yeah.
All that
Exactly.
kind of good stuff. They know, like, and I hate to use the sales velocity. I know you don't like that. But if the sales velocity is better, are they going to promote you more? And do you need to send more? There's a lot of things, a lot of factors that come into this that, based on, who I talk to, that, and based on, I'm sure you've seen as well, that people aren't, this isn't the top of their list of importance. So
Exactly. Yeah. It's directly related to the maturity of the market. I see retail just like the gold rush in the 1830s and 40s. In the beginning, a lot of people that were not, they didn't understand. They were like scooping gold with like a spoon. But with the maturity of the market, what happened was that only the people who understood and who applied technology at that time was just a better
yeah,
machine, and they were able to succeed versus the ones who didn't. So it's just a matter of time. That's what I keep saying to all of the people around me. The market will mature. It's
yeah,
impossible to keep managing inventory with Excel spreadsheets. Excel is just not. I love Excel. I'm the biggest Excel geek, but it's not the right tool for this type of decision. Yes, you can use Excel for some things that you want to visualize, like some dashboards and things like that. But all of the complexity of solving inventory with all the data that you have to have and process, all the intricacies that data has, it's impossible to solve with Excel spreadsheets. So very soon, I'm sure you're going to see every single brand in the world having something like Flieber, because it's just not possible to compete in this new competitive e-commerce scenario without that.
yeah, you got to keep up. Like you
Yeah,
said, you gotta get the better machine to mine the gold and to
exactly.
find it in the river and all that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, no, it's very interesting to think about. And like you said, the next, 20, 30 years, the AI is only going to get better. And maybe even have a little bit of an AI tool that can basically see the future almost, to where it's
Yep.
getting the inventory levels correct by like 1 or 2 units,
Yep.
which would be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
I would be
That's the
interested. I would be
that's
interested
the
to try
dream.
that.
That's the
Yeah,
dream. Yeah, we're gonna
that's
get there.
definitely the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Fabricio, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and talking to me about Flieber and talking to me about inventory planning. I want to finish up by giving you a chance to give any final thoughts on we kind of talked a little bit about. Again, you're kind of reading my mind here, asking these questions, kind of like what's next, and really any final thoughts for inventory planning and how to make it a little bit easier on people that are maybe struggling across all channels.
Yeah. Inventory is the complexity to be solved, as I said, because there's two factors. One of them is that inventory is the only physical part of the modern retail. And second is that the infrastructure of supply chain was built based on a model that is an old model, that you have to have products on shelves to enable sales. So there's a mismatch between the infrastructure and what these brands need today. So it's very complex. So my view is that if you were able to, as soon as possible in your journey as a brand, to incorporate inventory processes, and it doesn't have to be Flieber, there's other tools in the market, or even if you use Excel or something that you developed inside, but incorporate the inventory process into your process of decision making every day. And more than that, contextualize data. In the future, AI will only be as good as the data that you feed it. So if you're able to contextualize your data, why do you order 3,000 units instead of 2,000? It was because the supplier said that you were going to go on vacation. It's impossible that the AI knows that unless you were able to inform that. So take notes of all the decisions. That will be very useful in the future. It doesn't have to be anything structured. Just create a notes segment on every decision that you make, a price adjustment, an advertising campaign, a new PO, or a change of delivery date of a PO. Why that happened? Just put that on a note. In the future, I can bet with you that that's going to give you a huge competitive advantage, because you're going to feed that into the AI, and the AI will now have context of what was behind those decisions. It will help you make better decisions moving forward.
Yeah, well, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and talking to me about this and teaching me about this a little bit. I definitely have learned a lot from you, so I really appreciate that. I will have Fabricio's LinkedIn profile and also his website in the YouTube description below, and maybe a video to his old band performance on YouTube if I can find it. But you can check him out if you need inventory help. You know where to find him. If you like this episode and you learned a little bit too about inventory planning like me, make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with our latest episodes, to just keep learning more about e-commerce and Amazon. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Again, thank you, Fabricio, for coming on. And everybody, thanks for watching. I am your host, Velocity Pete, and we will see you next week.